Welcome to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. We are a community newspaper based in Mid-Coast, Maine, and we provide the most comprehensive in-depth coverage available anywhere of the 18 towns and one plantation that make up Lincoln County. My name's Molly Rains, and I'm a reporter here at the Lincoln County News. I cover Waldoboro, Jefferson, Somerville, Monhegan, and Hibbert Score.
And my name is Christina Wallace. I'm also a reporter here at the Lincoln County News, and I cover the towns of Nobleboro, Bremen, Bristol, and South Bristol.
And many others from time to time. So today, later on, we have a segment that I have been excited to share for a while with one of our very own Lincoln County Commissioners, Evan Goodkowsky. But first, here are some of the top stories from the Thursday, August 7th edition of the paper.
Organizers discuss growing need, reduced means at local food pantries. Allie spoke to the people who run and rely on food pantries across Lincoln County, where things stand in the world of food assistance. Food insecurity is already growing in Lincoln County and across Maine, and now food pantries are bracing for the impact as more than 176,000 Mainers who currently receive SNAP benefits, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which you may know as food stamps, will see impacts on what they're eligible to receive due to the federal cuts to the program. According to Allison Brooks, president of the Jefferson Area Food Pantry, reduction in SNAP funding typically has historically been correlated with an increase in demand for the pantry. She said she expects to see the same effect this time around as people begin to absorb the impacts of the federal cuts.
Food pantries are contending with this looming threat while also dealing with a reduction in donations and reductions in other federal funding streams that they used to rely on, which include federal programs that subsidize local farms that grow produce for food banks and USDA funds that supplied them with non-perishables. The pantry leaders that Allie spoke to called for donations and volunteer support, but overall they were determined that they could rally to meet the need. And then in lighter news, we have some news about pickleball, which Christina has been working on for a while.
I have. So pickleball is gaining quite a bit of popularity in Maine. It's a paddle sport. It's kind of like a tennis, badminton, ping pong hybrid that's played on a court that is slightly smaller than a tennis court. But while lots of people like it because it can be more accessible than tennis, as its popularity increases, so do the number of noise complaints associated with the sport. Tension over pickleball noise came to a head in the Round Pond neighborhood in Bristol recently, with the fallout involving increasing division in town and even an egged car.
Yeah, which is big news.
It is. Yeah. It is very big news. So I spoke with some people on both sides of the debate, including neighbors who say that their quality of life has been negatively impacted by the placement of the pickleball court near their house, and the pickleball enthusiasts who say that the neighbors are blowing the situation way out of proportion. So there's definitely two different sides going on here. Mm-hmm. At a meeting of the Bristol Select Board on Wednesday, July 16, two neighbors, the Dunbars, read from an open letter to share their complaints with the Select Board and community. During the meeting, their car was egged. So there were some people in the meeting that spoke out against them and said that they were very unhappy with how they were handling the situation, and they were talking about their concerns with like noise and privacy and things like that. A couple other neighbors also spoke out against the noise coming from the pickleball field. So currently an ongoing conversation in Round Pond.
Yes, I've been discussing this. I was on PTO last week and I was on vacation at a place where there was a pickleball court. So I brought up this story and said, what is everybody's takes? Because I'm not a pickleball player, but there were some big pickleball enthusiasts there who were like, yeah, you know what? It is pretty loud. So I guess we'll see what Bristol does, but it sounds like from your reporting, the town doesn't have a plan right now for how they're going to handle this.
Yeah, not right now. The court is overrun by the Round Pond Village Improvement Society, so it kind of sounds like the neighbors are going to have to talk with them. This is also an ongoing issue in Maine, so there's actually been several complaints this year about noise with pickleball. Christmas Cove actually had to implement a policy that required sound deadening paddles because of neighbors complaining about the noise. There are also complaints in Kittery that happened. So it's not an isolated incident. It's something that's going on all over the state.
Yes. And that makes it, to me, a little bit ironic and funny that we also had in this edition an article by Allie about how the Edgecombe Select Board, who is in the honeymoon phase with pickleball, planned to turn their tennis courts into a pickleball court at their most recent select board meeting. So that's very exciting. Pickleball, I mean, people like it because it's so accessible. And as Maine's population ages, it can be an easy way to stay active. So I definitely know a lot of people who are obsessed, including my parents. Awesome. At the county level, we have some changes in grant funding. This year, Lincoln County opted not to enroll in an annual grant program administered by the Department of Homeland Security because of changes to the attached terms and conditions that our county administrator, Carrie Kipfer, said do not align with the county's existing policies and philosophies. The county usually enrolls in this program to fund some emergency preparedness and public safety projects. This year, they were looking for about $135,000, and some of the things they might have done with that included generators for communications towers and a drug analysis program that they'd use to characterize seized narcotics. However, our administrator, Carrie Kipfer, was reading through the terms and conditions very fastidiously and found that some of the terms have changed a lot since last year. Some of those changes would require funding recipients to honor requests to collaborate with Homeland Security agencies, which includes ICE, to share information with such agencies if they were asked, and to detain people on administrative warrants, not just judicial warrants, which is an important distinction because administrative warrants and judicial warrants are very different. Administrative warrants are used by administrative government bodies like ICE and the EPA and others to detain people suspected of civil violations, which can include immigration charges. Judicial warrants, on the other hand, relate to criminal charges and are signed by a judge. And Sheriff Todd Brackett has been clear in the past, especially this spring as this matter has come up with increasing frequency, that his department as a law enforcement agency only deals with judicial warrants. And neither he nor the officials at Two Bridges have said they intend to change that. So to comply with the conditions attached to this funding, according to the county government, would require changing that policy, something that Carrie Kipfer said was not philosophically or practically within the county's purview. EMA Director Emily Huber said she had already suspected that these funds wouldn't come through this year, so she's been seeking other ways to fund these projects and others. And Carrie Kipfer said she expected other federal grants to come with similar terms. She also said the terms and conditions were released ahead of a very short application window for the grant, which was less than a week long. So she wasn't sure if other counties in Maine, which usually apply for the funds, would even have noticed that they were included. It sounded like she'd reached out to let them know, but hadn't heard back from everybody. And Allie in Damascotta and Newcastle talked about regionalization.
Yes. So Mutual Public Works Committee discusses next steps. Damascotta and Newcastle continue to discuss the possibility of sharing a public works department between the two towns. This is a conversation that's been ongoing for more than a decade. Newcastle and Damascotta had a shared public works department in the early 2010s, but abandoned it after 4 years, saying it had not resulted in the cost savings they had hoped for. Damascotta town manager Andy Dorr said the towns had learned from that experience and would set up this new agreement much differently. Current talks are focused on determining the scope of the department's winter service policy and how large a crew would have to be to accomplish that. This is still very much in the works.
You don't have to include my pun.
In the public works, if you will.
Reverse psychology.
That was very good. I like that.
Thank you. So we also have big news on the AOS 93 front, as ever, you know. Yeah.
Yes. So on Tuesday, August 5th, the South Bristol School Board took a step towards the possibility of withdrawing from AOS 93. They supported continuing with the process to withdraw and operate independently. This would involve creating a two-town education service center with Bristol, which board members said would allow them to share some services. Christian Coates said this move was based on philosophical differences he perceives between South Bristol, and the two other members of AOS 93, which are Jefferson and Nobleboro. He said changing dynamics in the AOS since the departure of the Great Salt Bay towns of Damascotta, Bremen, and Newcastle had made this philosophical difference more apparent and more challenging. He said, Prior to Great Salt Bay leaving, we were a part of a philosophically aligned majority in the AOS when it came to education. And we steered a course between those two towns that prioritized education over cost savings. We don't have that ability anymore because Bristol and South Bristol are in the minority. And we don't have that voting power, even though the money we're paying into the AOS is growing every year. They will continue to explore this possibility, as will Bristol and the overall AOS 93 board.
Yes, it's interesting to watch AOS 93 change because this time last year it was still a 7-town body, one of the biggest school districts in the area. So.
It definitely sounds like it's changing pretty quickly as time goes on.
Definitely. I think a lot of things that may have been growing and like feelings that may have been growing are suddenly very much out in the open. But that's just my perception.
Yeah.
So in Damariscotta, we have 70 years of family ownership at Damariscotta Hardware as of this summer. Wow. And our reporter intern, Nora Conlon, went to talk with multiple generations of the Gardner family who've seen that business through 7 decades and talk about what it takes to successfully run a family business, which we work at a family business and we know it's a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So this week, we bid farewell to our Lincoln County News summer reporter, Dylan, who started with us 3 years ago as an intern and is now off to Wellesley College to study English and history. She wrote this week's editorial, and it has a very sweet take on community and a very timely take on the importance of local papers like the Lincoln County News, which are becoming less and less common across the country and the world. And we're going to miss you so much, Dylan.
Really, big time.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
She's been great for us this summer and very awesome, very sweet to work with.
Yeah.
Definitely going to miss her.
I'm just so excited to see what she gets up to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wellesley doesn't know it's coming. Let's go tell her.
I think she's going to do great there.
Oh, yeah. So for our next segment is a little bit unusual because it features a blast from the past. It's something that we recorded in May. I've been very excited to share it since then. It features our former Lincoln County News reporter Piper Pavelich and myself interviewing County Commissioner Evan Goodkowsky. And we discuss what the commissioners do, which you'd be forgiven for not knowing, why their work is important, because it really is and impacts each of us every day. That's just my opinion. And a little bit about Evan himself and what he brings to the role. We've held on to this interview for a while since we recorded it because afterward I was so jazzed about the possibility of getting more local government people on the mic to talk about what they do. Just because, Christina, we go to a lot of meetings and usually we're the only ones there.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, especially at the commissioners meeting, which Evan and us will discuss this, but they happen at 9 a.m. on Tuesdays. So usually me and the reporter from the other newspaper are the only folks in the audience, or at least, one of maybe 4. Attendance has improved recently. But the thought was a lot of people maybe can't show up to something at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, or maybe they can't go to something at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday or whenever their local board might be meeting. So we could potentially get people on mic and talk a little bit more about what they do. And that's something that I think the Lincoln County News reporters are going to keep trying to do. But I will actually not be a part of that because I am moving to New Hampshire unexpectedly. And I'll talk a little bit more about that next week. But for now, I do want to share this interview with Evan Goodkowsky with all of you. So without further ado, here are former Lincoln County News reporter Piper Pavelich and myself talking with Lincoln County Commissioner Evan Goodkowsky. So we have Evan Goodkowsky joining us today. Hi, Evan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We've never had a county commissioner on the podcast.
I know.
A lot of people say that about everything I show up to. We've never had a county
commissioner
We don't
here.
even know what they look like.
Yeah. Are they real?
I'm glad that you're spreading awareness.
At the very least.
So you've been a county commissioner since November 2024.
Sworn in January.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh,
So
wait, really? Wow.
Yep.
really only 5 months.
Yep.
Yeah. But I want to go before that first. And can you talk a little bit about who you were before you were a county commissioner?
There were several lives in there. Lived in Wiscasset for the majority of my life, other than when I went to college and South Portland and Portland. Had a wide array of careers, was into the foreclosure market for a long time, doing foreclosure inspections from Bath to Bucksport. So I've been all over the state. I worked at Scarborough Downs for a period as a security guard and as a parimutuel teller, which is who sells you the racing bets. So I was in that world for a while. And then how did we get back? Realized that the foreclosure market was going nowhere and thought I'd get into real estate appraising. I talked to an appraiser and the appraiser said, "Why would you do this?" They're like, "I have $10,000 worth of overhead. You could be a main assessor for $50 if you go take the test."
Really?
So I was like, okay, I heard it from the horse's mouth. I guess I know what I should do.
Yeah.
So spent 4 years being an assessor at town of Westport Island, went back to school and then started getting more and more involved in local politics. Went to a grad school at Muskie for policy planning and management. So
Wow.
there's a lot of stuff in there.
At one point, you ran for House,
Yep,
right?
in 2022,
Yeah.
I ran for Maine House of Representatives as an independent, which is a fun experiment, and everybody should try that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why is it fun?
Just as an independent, everybody, either you meet people that are really excited that you're not a part of the party, or you meet a ton of people that are immediately distrustful and don't know where you stand and don't have any idea. So they want to put a label on you instead of just saying, well, I agree with a lot of things over here. I'm flexible with this issue.
Yeah.
They really want you to fit into their shoebox of the world. So that makes it a little bit more difficult sometimes.
They think they can make you do that.
Exactly. And if you don't write your own narrative, someone else will.
Yeah.
So
There's a weird through line with the jobs that you're describing where you're like, whether you're being a security guard or working in foreclosures or running as an independent, you're like meeting people in very charged situations.
there were a few.
Yeah.
There were a few. Yeah.
Do you think that that helps you now in government?
Yeah, because everybody's nicer now.
Really?
Progressively, same with assessing too. I mean, I've been in a lot of jobs where I'm not the person people want to deal with, but I don't usually have that type of demeanor where I'm trying to escalate the situation. I could usually, let's bring some humor into it and see what we can come to a common ground on.
Yeah.
But got tired of that. Wanted to have a job where everybody's not upset to see me most of the time.
That's fair. So I'm usually one of the only people in the audience at the commissioners' meetings, but I know that you do a lot of stuff and you go around and, as you said, introduce yourself to people who may not be familiar with the board.
Sure.
Have you met new people through being a commissioner?
Yeah, I think a fair amount of people either going to different select boards for my towns, and then there's a couple other boards that I sit on, so learning a bunch of new different things. So I'm represent District 1 for the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners, which is alphabetical, or now let's do them by geography. Southport, Boothbay Harbor, Boothbay, Edgecombe, Wiscasset, and then down the bridge to Westport Island.
Nice.
So those are my towns.
You proved that you're worthy for the seat.
Exactly. So I sit on that board, and then I'm the county's rep for our planning commission, which is in Wiscasset. Also the Coastal Counties Workforce Board, which is one of 3 local workforce boards in the state. I sat through 2 hours of the primer for that, and I still really don't know all the things that they do, but they get a lot of grant money from the Federal Department of Labor. So,
Wow.
And other counties along the coast from Waldo County down to York are in that group with us.
When you say one of 3 in the state, do they end up covering the whole state, or
Yep.
is it something? Oh, cool.
Yep.
Wow.
So we have 6 counties: York, Cumberland, Sagadahoc, Lincoln, Knox, and Waldo in ours. And I can't remember the breakdown of the other 2, but they do a lot of, either if it's green jobs, they had an Afghan resettlement labor grant to do workforce training for those folks. Bunch of different things like that they give federal money for.
Wow. So, but when you decided to join the commissioners, why did you decide to run?
It's a good question. I had enough people that after I lost my House campaign were like, you need to keep going. You need to keep doing something. I'd been around town stuff long enough, being an assessor and through other modes, that I felt it's not that you're hamstrung if you're on like a select board, but it's you got to get everything approved on one day out of the year, and that's basically what you have to work with, and you kind of have to work within the confines of that. And looking at the Board of Commissioners, I sat doing broadband consulting work for the last couple of years and worked around the county for most of that time and just thought, well, this seems like it's a good place to start. I think that there's going to be a lot more opportunities in the near future for some sort of not necessarily regionalization, but cooperation of services that people need around here. So I thought, well, I'll take my talents to the courthouse and see if anybody wants me there. So
Yeah, and they did.
So far, so good. I don't know if they did. Nobody ran against me. So I make sure I say that to everybody. They're like, oh, so what was the campaign like? Well, nobody ran. So it was just me. And that's not uncommon in other commissioner seats in Maine.
Yeah.
There was 2 or 3 that were write-ins that won with just 100 votes. So there's definitely a lack of awareness, and also people just don't know what it is or what it entails a lot of times.
Why do you think that is? Because it is the highest level of local government in the county. But I agree with you that people don't really seem to understand the implications of what goes on there.
I think that most of the time, the only interaction they're going to have with it is either they get pulled over by a sheriff's deputy, or they buy property, so they go to the deeds office, or they handle, go through a divorce, or adopting a child, or go through a name change, or process wills through the probate office. So if you don't interact with those 3 things very often, you don't think of it very much. But I think it's also a breakdown of how county government works in New England and then how it works everywhere else. Because when I talk to people that live outside of New England, they're always surprised. They're like, whoa, the county, like that's a big deal. And I'm like, well, it's not as big as of a deal as it might be in any other state outside of New England, where it's there just aren't as many incorporated municipalities as there are in Maine. And you guys know this, but not a lot of people do. They're just small places in Maine that wouldn't be incorporated that are. So they control most of what their day-to-day operations look like in those places.
Yeah. We were talking about how the commissioners, like the first time I saw the unincorporated territories budget was this year, because I just took over covering the commissioners. And it's fascinating how it works, because this is people who don't have municipal government. So the commissioners are overseeing everything for them.
That's right. And then Lincoln is small in that we only have a couple spots of unorganized territory, the Louds Island area off of Bremen, and then Hibbert's Gore, population of 1, which most people have never heard of. But Sagadahoc has unincorporated territory and or unorganized on Swans Island, which is Perkins, and nobody lives there. But up in Aroostook, that's 2/3 of their landmass is unorganized territory, and there are buildings and people that live there, but most of their actions are governed by the state. Sometimes the counties do the roads and other things.
Yeah. What, for people who aren't familiar, what is the charge of the Board of Commissioners specifically?
Mostly, I think we're just budget oversight for the most part, and directing the small amount of policy that we can. Quite a few of the other positions in the county are elected, and they run their offices the way they see fit, but then we oversee their budget. So, for example, the judge of probate and register of probate, the register of deeds, the county treasurer, the county sheriffs, all are elected, and they basically have the authority to run their offices as they see fit. But we go through the budget every year, and then there are a few departments that are unique to Lincoln County that we oversee directly. So the Emergency Management Agency, the dispatch, the recycling department, and the planning commission, I believe, we're all floor. I should have brought my flow chart, because I forget all this stuff all the time, because every county in Maine is fairly unique in whatever extra services they have. Oxford has an airport. York just built a rehab facility. Cumberland does regional assessing. So everybody's doing a little bit more or less or different things.
Yeah, there's some freedom there to think outside the box. Maybe.
Definitely.
Yeah. How has it been adjusting to the role for the past 5 months?
Oh, I feel like I was dyed in the wool for it. No, I joke around. I don't know. It comes fairly naturally to me. I've been around municipal government for a long time, so it's just feels like an extension of that. First thing I wanted to do is just make people at least feel like it was approachable, because I know that you see it when people either walk into a select board meeting or our meetings, they get a little nervous when they want to address the board. And it's just like, these are just 3 people from next door. This is not this is an official group, but I mean, don't give us like the formality that you might feel like you need to in a higher level of government. It's people that go to the same grocery stores and go to the gas station. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah. But you want to be addressed as commissioner.
No one asked me. They just keep saying it. No one asked.
Asked me.
I say, just call me Evan. That's fine.
It's probably against some protocol, written somewhere.
Some people that have their titles like to go with their titles.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I give them that.
You talked a little bit about regionalizing services, and in the profile that Jonathan wrote about you when you were running, you also talked about that with like CEOs, I think was one possibility. Is that still something you're interested in?
Yeah, I think right now, I think we're definitely interested in looking at it. I think right now between the federal administration and everybody's kind of sitting here with their hands in the air being like, I don't know what's going to happen. I think we're kind of waiting to get into our role a little bit more comfortably and then start looking at what towns would want to collaborate on. And as you guys know, you probably go to plenty of select board meetings. There's constantly a question in the air of, well, who could we work with on this or this or this? And usually, oftentimes, the boards in one town don't even know the people that sit on the town's board next to them, which I'm just like, if you guys take one meeting one day a month and just go over and talk to whoever, you might find there's an opportunity there. But I think the county is going to be an interesting area where we can be the person that brings everybody to the table and see what everybody needs. But yeah, code enforcement is a big one. Assessing, Penobscot does fire services now, where they've gotten like a bunch of really small towns. A lot of them don't have any basic businesses or facilities, but they're collaborating on fire stuff there. And that's been a big topic in the last couple of years, is how to staff fire departments. And I think it comes down to sharing equipment across municipal boundaries. I know Dresden a couple months ago was talking about, well, maybe Richmond will be interested in co-owning a fire truck with us. So there's a lot of possibilities like that. We're going to, I think in the next year, really start looking at the towns and saying, hey, what do you want? What are you tired of working with? I think, did either of you guys know Stan Waltz? Yep. Stan was a great example, because Stan Waltz was a code enforcement officer for several towns. And when he passed, all those towns then didn't have an officer. And it's hard for these people starting out. They take up 1 or 2 or 3 towns. They usually work on a contract. There's no benefits attached. And then you wonder why it's really hard to get people to stay. So then eventually you have somebody that might pass away when they're in the office and everybody's looking for a replacement and cannibalizing all the people that are out there.
Yeah, it becomes very competitive.
Super
quickly.
competitive.
Yeah. And it's very tough because these are things that, like you said, like the fire department conversation about how fire departments can possibly afford to keep operating is a huge one. So it's cool to think that maybe there's some opportunity.
Yeah, there's definitely examples out there in the state. It's just everybody just needs to come to the point where they understand, well, maybe we're not going to be the chiefs of the fiefdom of our small town, and maybe we can be part of a bigger unit. And there's opportunities to have more regular pay and benefits for a lot of these people. At least that's the idea. I don't think I won't come to any illusion where people are going to save money, but I think you could come to a point where you're going to understand that people are going to be filling the roster when you need them, and they're going to be showing up. And if they get benefits or some sort of situation along the way, then all the better if you can collectively do that. Just to make sure there's going to be people there to come when you need it and have an emergency.
Yeah. Well, you and the other commissioners just okayed another ask grant for Damerscott and Newcastle to think about combining their public works department. Piper knows all about this.
That was good.
So I don't know but they tried it in the past.
Yep.
They did try it in the past.
And they're a great example of, I think they still do shellfish enforcement or a harbor master shared in places like that, where Newcastle and Damerscott are a perfect match, obviously. So anywhere where they can collaborate like that and make sure they have somebody sitting in the role, all the better.
So aside from regionalization, what are your other goals or expectations for this term, or thinking about once everybody gets settled, what you'd like to start looking at?
Well, so far we've already started on just more awareness. more transparency. We just started videotaping the meetings. We were one of 7 counties that still didn't tape record our meetings. So now there's only 6 left.
Nice.
Get on it.
Just making it more accessible and more easy to see what's actually going on. That's one of my bigger focuses. And I mean, you could easily ignore the whole function altogether and pretend it doesn't exist. And a lot of counties kind of take that position and they do exactly what they already do and keep the status quo alive. So we're starting there.
I have a
Hopefully we get the website up to date. That would be good.
I love the commissioner's website.
Me too.
I won't name names, but compared to some towns' websites.
Sure. We have fun backgrounds on all the other pages, like recycling. There's carrots and trash and litter on the background. It's fun. Little wallpapers.
Yeah.
And Carrie takes a lot of pictures, so there's always pictures of up-to-date pictures.
She was actually I think a professional photographer for quite a while.
Oh, wow. What? That makes so much sense.
She's somebody that's had many lives as well before she got here.
Character of the county?
Possibly.
Question mark. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. I have a question, and I don't know if the answer exists, but why are commissioners' meetings at 9 a.m. on Tuesdays?
I think because they're used to being over 65 and they don't want to drive at night.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of...
I've always thought that was so interesting. 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few that do it in the afternoon or whatever, but that's a comfortable time period when these folks have shown up. And I think for a lot of people, they are just as happy that nobody shows up. So if you have your meeting on 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, then mission accomplished for
Great.
Yeah.
keeping attendance low. Ensures you keep a chair every month.
Yep, I'll be there. I kind of like the timing because that's the day before we go to print. So it's like very hectic in this office, and I can just be like, well, bye.
Gotta go to the finish.
Gotta go see what's going on over there.
Yep, I'm sure and then I just sit and it's quiet and calm usually.
Yeah, we're going to get a coffee pot, I think.
Oh, really?
Maybe that will be our next edition.
Wow.
Seeing as how
Nice.
our visitors are, I don't know, maybe that will bring more people in.
Yeah, no, it really could. It's a tough time, but in terms of like spreading, at least the video really helps people understand the environment in the office there.
First, you get to see what the room looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, people haven't even seen what the inside of the building is. So, yeah, definitely.
And
I
it's
know.
about to get
I had never been to that part of the building before the meeting I went to. I was like, where do I go?
Yeah, and that's how it feels at the door. They're also like, where are you going?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is a different experience than any other municipal meeting because you have to go through security and you're at the courthouse, which carries some emotions for some people. So
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
there's a barrier there, but you guys do a good job of being friendly.
Like I said, we're just 3 guys.
Yep.
We're normal
Just
folk.
3 dudes.
3 commissioners. I would like to talk a little bit about the Lincoln and Sagadahoc
Yes.
Multi-County Jail Authority,
Yes.
which you are the...
I'm one of the board members.
Yes. How did that happen?
How many board members are there?
There are supposed to be 12.
Okay.
I think right now we have 11 and an alternate that fills in the 12th position. It's something that I've been interested in. I've been familiar with for a while. My late mother's partner, Todd McPhee, who's now a commissioner in Sagadahoc, sat on the jail authority since they built it.
Wow.
As a Sagadahoc public person, and now he's on the board of commissioners. So he would come over for dinner and tell us all those stories about what's going on with how the jail's getting built. So I think people were pretty surprised when I knew a thing or two at the first meeting, because I'd already heard these stories for close to 20 years of kind of the inner workings of financing and administering the jail. So they had 2 opening positions before I got sworn in when Hamilton and Mary were on their way out. And I said, yep, I'm interested. So they're like, cool, you're on. So I don't know if I'm a member by vestige of being a commissioner or a public member.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't even know what, and it's, we don't even have our bill is actually, I think, technically our alternate. So you're supposed to have 2 commissioners from each county, the sheriff from each county,
Oh, okay.
and then 1 member from each commissioner district in each county, and that makes up to 12.
So who are you missing right now?
Another good question, because I don't know if I'm a commissioner or a public person. We've got Bill, we've got Hamilton, who I replaced on the board of commissioners, but he's still the chair of the jail authority. Carrie, we've got Todd is the sheriff that sits on the board, and Rand is another one.
So theoretically, you could have another commissioner or a member of the public.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're kind of looking for a member of the public, and as you can imagine, there's not a lot of people that are interested.
Yeah.
It's primarily just a financial conversation. More has been coming up, obviously, as of late, but for the most part, it's just how do we keep this thing running? How do we keep the budget low? There's a lot of politics between getting more funding from the state. We take a lot of boarders from different counties that don't have big enough facilities or any jail at all to house some of their inmates. So it's a much more interesting scenario than the rest of the county stuff. And it's weird because we are the only multi-county jail in the state. So every time they say all the county jails and 2 bridges. So it sits on a little asterisk off to its own all the time.
Because doesn't every other county have at least some kind of facility?
Some sort of something. Yes. I think I don't know how many beds Waldo County has or some other counties, but they're some of them are very limited. And actually the history of the jails in Lincoln County is pretty funny because the current sheriff's office, the basement is the jail. If you haven't been down there, there are still cells, and you walk down there and you can't even believe that they ever had people there, but they had.
I want to go see it.
You can, yeah. It's all office. Half of them are offices now.
Oh, okay.
Half of them are storage, but no, they still look exactly the same.
They did, and they had comms down there for a while too.
Yeah, there's been a lot of shuffling as to finding enough space to do everything in our county.
Tough thing to do endlessly. Yeah. In terms of regionalization, the jail authority's been on my mind recently because there was a brief moment where a bill was introduced to add other counties.
I was wondering if we were going to talk about that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add, when you talk about regionalization, does that include the jail?
Yeah, it definitely can. The bill that you're referring to kind of came as a surprise. Right now, well, maybe we should back it up a second and talk about prosecutorial districts. I don't know if you guys are super familiar with that
Please
or not.
explain.
This is the most. So every county elects a district attorney, but a lot of counties share a district attorney. York and Cumberland have their own. Lincoln County shares a district attorney with Saginaw, Lincoln. Excuse me, we are Lincoln, Knox, and Waldo. And then there are other places like Washington and Hancock have one, and Aroostook might have one because of its size. So you have all of these laid out into prosecutorial districts, and the district attorneys and the assistant district attorneys are all state employees, usually housed in county facilities where the state pays rent, and then they have other employees that are county employees but are overseen by the district attorneys that are actually state employees. So let's get to that part first.
Sometimes I forget that this is just an audio medium, but I'm just here making a face.
Piper looks
confused.
It's one of the weirdest. It's one of the weirdest things, and the only person that I found that adequately explained it all to me was a professor I had at SMCC named Herb Adams, who does local and state government. And every time a governor gets inaugurated, he's on PBS doing all of the background history stuff of the ceremony, the building, the institution, the whole thing. And he sat in the legislature, so he taught me everything I know about prosecutorial districts, and that melds into what you just asked about regionalization thing. So right now, Lincoln, Saginaw, Knox, and Waldo were all in the same prosecutorial district, and they've engaged with a consultant to figure out ways that we could better collaborate, and whether that's having all jail employees under one umbrella so that we have shared training, shared resources, shared benefits, or does that mean bringing more counties into our jail? So we just began that process, and then the bill that you were referring to kind of jumped out, and people weren't really sure how or when it came about, because we've just started this process of collaboration and looking at what resources can be shared across those places, specifically because we have the same legal system with it across those 4 counties. So a bill came forward from Waldo County that basically was just an opener to allow our jail authority to grow. However, the taxpayers of Lincoln and Saginaw County have financed this thing and built it for 20 years. So it didn't adequately address how that would work. If a new county came in, would they buy in and basically buy a portion of it? And it really wasn't discussed enough with the jail authority or the other counties. It was really just brought in through the legislature. So we asked politely if that would be taken down so that we could keep going on our path, working with consultant and having the conversation of what does this look like and not jump the gun too quickly on changing governance legislation.
Yeah, so they voted not to pass for now, but it did seem to reflect a desire to address the same things that it sounds like the consultant is working on,
True.
which is like high costs and shuffling people around.
Right.
But you will be able to answer this, I think. And my impression is that the jail is pretty full often.
Yeah.
The jail, I believe at this point is they sit at a lower end of a capacity because basically they could open up more areas, but then there's a point where if they add 5 or 10 more people, they have to open up a whole new area. And to staff that, there's minimum staffing levels that unless you have it completely full, which is there's just not enough of the population for it to make sense. So they kind of keep it at a artificial lower number, at least as far as I understand. I believe we have open room, but they decide to keep one whole area closed.
That's interesting. That's cool from a facilities perspective because there's some flexibility there, but staffing is always seems to be really hard in this county and
definitely.
state.
And anytime it's correctional officers, that's a hard job to work and a hard job to keep full.
Yeah.
Yes, it seems like it. Well, thank you I'm so glad we have that on recording, you describing the prosecutorial districts, because
great.
now I can
I
listen
hope that I did her proud. Yeah.
It's going to be
There's
helpful.
not many people that you can't, that's a hard thing to Google and find a good answer for.
Yeah, but it's fascinating. So it'll be cool to see how that develops.
Definitely. Yeah, they might have a report by the end of the summer, so we're trying to communicate with all that. But it's a lot of cats to herd. It's a lot 4 counties plus jail administrators and other things. So
Cats everywhere.
yes, a lot of people to get in one room together, or at least under one understanding.
Yeah.
Definitely. So we've been talking about, you're the first person who's been kind enough to come in and speak with us and introduce themselves as a local government person, but we hope to do this more. And we were thinking about what question we could use to conclude the interview to get some good intel. And we landed on, what is one hidden or underappreciated Lincoln County gem that you want to put people onto?
The unappreciated Lincoln County gem. And obviously, it has to be in my district because that would be the only.
It doesn't
sensitive
have
thing.
to be in your district.
I think it does.
Okay.
I think politically, I think it would be bad if I
Don't
named
listen
something
to
out
me.
of my area. Hidden gem, and I don't gatekeep places, so I want everybody to know about it.
You're better than us. We can keep places.
Yeah, definitely. In Booth Bay, Bed's Fish Fry. If you've never been, right on the corner by the Common. I will say I tell people it has the best fish and chips in the state of Maine, and then I will tell people it's not even that; it's the best on the eastern seaboard.
Wow.
Whoa.
That if you try and find better fish and chips than any place at Bed's, you don't need to tell me because I will not believe you. And if you haven't been there, they have a big picture of a lobster with a circle around it and a strike through it. There's no lobster here. They just sell fish, French fries, and then they also have buns if you want it on a fish sandwich with either tartar or dill sauce. Cash only. Lunch 11 to 2. They used to do dinner 5 to 7. But yeah, you walk up. It's just like the Soup Nazi in Seinfeld. You walk up, you place down your money, you step to the side. 90 seconds later, you have fish and chips, and it's a giant fish fillet of haddock, just like that. And the dill sauce is, that's all there is to it.
Oh my God. I don't think you know this either, but we don't really go to Booth Bay. So
Right. That's the place to go. I think they're opening in like another couple weeks, and it's become much more of a, we're open for lunch and that is it.
Yeah.
So come when you come, and they run out some days. So, I mean, it's like if you go at 11, quarter to 12, that's the time to go. Get a little bit of lemon on there.
I respect
Easy.
it. They'll give you lunch and then they're just done.
Yeah. And the simplicity too, like the cash only, we do one thing and we do it really well.
There's a soda machine out back, so we're not even going to sell you soda out the
Love that.
out the window. You figure it out for yourself.
Amazing.
Wow. Exciting.
Super simple.
Very timely recommendation too.
Coming right up, yeah. And they've got a nice little scene there, plenty of picnic tables. They got all crushed shells all over the ground, so it feels like you're on island time when you're there.
You know what we should have asked him as a person from Wiscasset? Reds or Spragues?
I think this should go on the recording if you weren't planning on it. Reds or Spragues? This is an interesting question.
I don't actually know what locals think about it. Obviously, the tourists always go to Reds.
Locals will go to both. When I was a kid, you would go to both because after like 6:30, 7 o'clock, there used to be nobody there, and they used to be open late. Now they close at whatever six or so. Used to get dinosaur nuggets, and they had a little bit of that everything at Red Seeds. I'll go to Sprague's now because it's easier to get to.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can usually get food there within 20 minutes. But I'll still go to Red sometimes. They have a lot of odd hot dogs. They have Sturdleys. They have puff dogs.
Odd hot dogs?
Yeah, they've got different things
Can
going
you
on there.
elaborate? I've never been to
I believe
Red's.
a Sturdley is a hot dog with Kraft's American singles cut into slices and then put on the hot dog. And then a puff dog, I believe, is when the hot dog, and someone's yelling at the podcast if they're listening to it right now. I believe the puff dog is fried and then put in the bun. So then they've got a few other things. They've got kraut dogs. They've got slept on is the hot dog scenario over there.
Evidently.
This is hilarious because we were just talking yesterday about how badly we want hot dogs.
Piper and I really love hot dogs.
There's a burgeoning. But yeah, there's a big hot dog scene coming around all the time.
There really is, from the top
Seriously.
of the county to the bottom.
Yeah.
It's like it's a renaissance of hot dogs.
Oh my
That's what we're
gosh.
looking for. When I went to middle school, Quick Stop is right on the top of the hill on 27 in Wisconsin, and a lot of people would stop at the gas station with their parents on the way to school in the morning, and half the kids that came in, your coat would smell just like onions and mustard and relish because they had the hot dog steamer going at 6 a.m. and people are just grabbing steamed hot dogs out of there. So you knew who went to Quick Stop in the morning to get their hot dog.
Okay, but wait, which do you prefer, Reds or Sprague's?
It depends on the food item. Is what I'm gonna have to say. I'm not. I eat lobster at home, so I'm never eating lobster out.
Okay.
That scene doesn't make sense to me because I'm already here. I know where to get it.
Yeah,
that's fine. I would say I'm going to Sprague's for the clam cakes, and I'm going to Red's for fried zucchini. That's actually the go-to. I would usually get fried zucchini and onion rings at Red's because they have tempura batter, I believe it is, and they do it different over there when it comes to those items. But if you want a cheeseburger or clam cakes, I've done both clam cakes at both, but I'll go get clam cakes at Sprague's. Scallops, if it's a Friday and we just hit a good scratch ticket and everything's going well in the world, we'll get some scallops somewhere.
nice.
Yeah. Good thing the summer's long because there's lots of places to go.
Oh, that just made me think of another hidden gem. How many hidden gems do you guys
more,
want?
please.
As many as you want to give.
On Monhegan, if you go to the brewery, they have their little food trailer there. And if we're talking about scallops, those are the best fried scallops I've ever had in my life.
Whoa.
Again, with a little bit of lemon. They have the fish shack, which is good also on the way up to the brewery. But the fried scallops at the little trailer that I don't even know has a name at the Monhegan Brewing Company, those are the scallops to get.
Wow.
Right there. I've never been let down by them. I'll go like once a year. It's super consistent. That, a beer or two. Get back on the boat.
Yeah.
Like I said, island time.
Heck yeah.
Long journey, but worth it. Wow. I still haven't been to Monhegan.
Neither have I.
Another thing to do.
I know.
Yeah.
Definitely a good day trip.
Get some scallops, apparently. At the place that will not be named.
I don't know if it has a name.
We'll find it.
You will find
there's
it.
not much. There's not much area to cover.
Yeah, true. Well, thank you, Evan. I hope that anybody who's free at 9 a.m. on every other Tuesday stops in to see you.
Please do. Please do. It gets a little quiet in there. The building's ancient, and we want to hear living voices and not have to worry what the other creaks are.
Yes.
Courthouse ghosts? Question mark?
Oh, probably.
Most definitely.
When you, even like the hallway lights are really dim.
Yeah.
It's a spooky atmosphere. We have Henry Knox's genuine will in the basement from when Knox County was part of Lincoln County.
Whoa.
Really?
That's an ancient artifact. That's what I asked the deeds and probate office what our most priceless relic was. And they said, we have Henry Knox's will written on sheepskin.
Oh my God.
So I think if you've got all these old relics and artifacts around, there's got to be, there's some stories there. And like you said, there's a lot of emotions charged up there. So
Yeah.
things have happened over the years.
Definitely. And you go to the courthouse, go through security, walk down the long, dim hallway, and then see 3 commissioner guys.
And there we are.
And if you're not sure, do what I did and then walk in and be like, hey, where's the commissioners meeting?
They'll help you.
They'll help you.
Very kind. Yes.
They'll help.
Yeah.
Or if they don't, just let me know about it. We'll handle it from there.
And now that you're recording your meetings, where can people find you guys?
We are, I believe we're on the Lincoln County Television YouTube page. I've been forwarding those meetings to the Booth Bay TV station too, so they can air those. And I think we're going to have them on our own YouTube page, but so too many places. Yeah. Hopefully we'll have a link on our website as well. in the near future.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your
Thanks for having me.
not gate-kept
This is fun.
recommendations. It was. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. This podcast is produced by Lucas McNally and Maya Zewert. Tyler Davis of Tyality Productions provides production support. Our theme music is by Stu Mahan and Lincoln County News Associate Editor / Bassist Sherwood Olin. The Lincoln County News hits newsstands across the county every Wednesday afternoon, and you can also access our work online at lcnme.com. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion, please email us at info@lcnme.com. As always, we're grateful for the support of our readers and listeners in Lincoln County and beyond. It's been great catching up today, and we'll talk with you again soon.